Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to Gaia Daily for March 23rd and 24th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, we're coming up on this Aries new moon, very powerful energies as the sun and the moon come into conjunction with uh, Chiron and Black Moon Lilith and square to the nodes all at once, right at the time of this new moon. So the energy that's coming in right now is so profound and actually very beautiful, and a crazy juxtaposition to what we're being shown in the world right now. There's so much fear around illness and fear around death and protecting people. There's so much coming up in our collective consciousness around poverty, scarcity, and losing everything. And yet we've got this like huge spiritual energies coming in. And the message seems to be that things are not as they seem. And we need to put our eye on the prize. And those souls that are drawn to this work, you have had often very difficult past lives where you've dedicated yourself again and again to support this earth evolution in moving forward. And then coming to the earth and being persecuted, rejected, exiled, you name it. So we have to step back and look at what's happening from the greater picture, and that we have lost many battles, but we have not lost the war. In fact, we're winning the war. So what's being shown to us right now and what's going on in our outside world is actually going to be rapidly shifting towards the positive, and more evidence of this is coming in. And what we're here to do right now is to hold space for that. And I've gotten some comments like, what do you mean by holding space? Like, wow, can you explain that? Especially in other languages, what do you mean? So by holding space, first of all, can you just feel the vibration of that? It's almost like I can see this picture of this gesture, and what's in front of you and what are you going to give your attention to? And this keep your eye on the prize of what we're really doing here and what you have dedicated your soul, your experience through so much to be here right now and to be present and available to support this greater mission and purpose that we're on. And so holding space is like putting your attention on what you want to create and letting everything else go to the side, right? And more, what's come forward in this time that we live in of constant distraction. And this is something, that's coming up a lot because here we are being very distracted from this spiritual experience that is happening with all of this, the goings on and, the what we have to deal with in our world, right? On the other hand, a lot of us are being given more space to be present with our greater truth. And I have come to see that distraction is it's very subtle in a way, but this is one of the main ways that the control energies have kept us from our purpose over many lifetimes. It's like, put your attention over here. Oh, deal with this. Oh, tragedy, trauma, poverty, survival, right? And so isn't it interesting that we're having this huge bloom? And of course, you can see with like the technological energies and the technological age that we're in, they're harvesting our attention, and so it's like, whoa, we thought money was money and wealth. We thought maybe your items, the things you've accumulated, is wealth. And then we can even look at the wealth that we have within us, which is what this Uranus and Taurus is trying to show us. But even the wealth we have within us, if our attention is being put on things that we don't want to create, then we're distracted. And so these distractions over lifetimes of like keeping us in survival mode has a dual purpose of distracting us from our soul purpose and disconnecting us from our true self. So we're having a really strange mirror boomerang thing happening right now. And I feel like in just really examining the levels intuitively of what's going on energetically, um, it feels like what might be happening is an undoing of a lot of mind control and programming. And, when you look at the facts and what's going on in the reality, um, it's hard to see that. But when we step back and take a little bit more perspective, all of these programs that have been put into humanity on a DNA level around these survival, keeping us in survival mode, that's all blooming out of the collective consciousness right now. And yet there's more and more evidence every day that this isn't exactly the situation. It feels like gloom and doom, like we're losing everything. The market's crashing and we're losing our jobs and all that. But it's like um, somehow all of this mind control and programming and DNA distortion has to be released. And it seems like that. So now this is the energy of the astrology too, because now we're feeling Venus in sextile to Neptune. And it's kind of like we talked about the little other sextiles that's happening, this beautiful star pattern. And so we've got Uranus sextile the North Node, Mercury sextile Uranus, and Mercury sextile the South Node, right? So that's like we've got Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus, Cancer, 4 signs which is 8 signs. It's a big part of more than half of the zodiac in this star pattern. And then in there, we've also got Venus, Neptune in Pisces, sextile Venus and Taurus. So the energy that's coming forward is around the tides turning. And it's like we've got to, when I say make space or hold space, it's kind of like making space, right? Putting aside the manifested reality of what's happening right now, because that's all coming and going. And this is going to shift faster than we know. And we might be better, like way better off than before this started, is what we're looking at. Like this could be a great financial reset. This could be a reset to our soul and spirit that we need. This is this influx of energies that have been blocked by the lower grid, which is now dismantling. And so the further you step back from the actual situation, the more hope there is in that, yes, we've lost lots of wars, lifetime after lifetime, being beaten down, trying to go up against these control energies and free humanity. But we have not lost the war. And the tide, and that's kind of the theme today, is like tides turn. And we are in a huge turning of the tide, except we were going down a very wrong road, with this technological control and global control and our freedoms on the edge of like losing all of our freedoms. And we're being shown that, but that's not really what's happening. And so those of us who can disconnect from the happenings in the world to hold space, meaning put your attention on that prize of knowing in your heart and soul that you would not be here right now if you were not going to succeed in your mission. And I know that like over lifetimes, this is part of the deal, is that you've been distracted from your mission to the point where you can't validate you even have one. It's like, well, I feel like maybe there's something here to do, or maybe I have some gifts, but nobody really, is anybody going to want them? And that's programming over many lifetimes with these souls who were deliberately rejected from this earth because the control energies didn't want these advanced souls here. And now there's so many on the planet. And yet there's also so many that don't realize how powerful they are. They're programmed with fear around their power. And basically what I'm seeing in the energies right now with this tide turning and this Aries new moon is that In the past, people have had to, especially with the lower matrix grid that we've been under, that I think we'll be getting more truth around this, um, technologically controlled through so many methods, kind of crisscrossing, creating this lower astral plane grid. We've got stuck souls in the lower astral plane, religious programming that keeps souls from going back to source. We've got then more recently in technological controls of technological grids, and who knows what, everything else that's GMOs and vaccinations, and we've been just like deliberately attacked on our consciousness. How about fluoride with our pineal gland? you know and what's happening right now, this light influx of light that's coming in, it's like these ascension energies. And where in the past you had to do a whole bunch of stuff, like you had to have a lot of time, you had to do your yoga, you had to meditate, you had to make sure you could get into nature, you had to get lots of sleep, you have to do all these things in order to get a little tiny bit, get together with people, try to, you know, grow the energy, even to get a little tiny bit of this spiritual energy. And now it's flooding in. And so we need to let people have their experience of wherever they need to go in this, because this is an unraveling of DNA patterns around trauma, around scarcity, lack. Maybe this is part of the Uranus and Taurus and being so activated right now because we had that Venus Uranus conjunction, and now Uranus sextile the North Node, and then it's been in that semi-sextile to Chiron and Black Moon Lilith. And so now we're starting to really feel what this Uranus and Taurus is. And that understanding that this is a boomerang and this is a cleansing, that healing crisis, and people need to experience whatever they need to experience to get this out of their system because it's time to move on. And maybe we are having a fusing of timelines. And when that divine timeline comes in, it's rather traumatic because the systems of our world, just like in our individual life, we've been talking about, the systems of our world are not supporting the truth of who we are as spiritual beings. And that's where the golden age, the higher octave of the Aquarian age of what we're trying to create here, what we are creating, what's coming in, the tide is turning, nothing can stop it, and we're at this point. So it's like understanding that the collective needs to have the experience they need to have. And you are finally have permission to let these energies come in of this crown chakra activation, this it's like washing away, that maybe this Venus, this Neptune and Pisces sextile Venus and Taurus, because Venus rules and is at home in Taurus, rules our self-worth. And so we're kind of like this influx of energies is like all of the things we do all day long, because as much as we put all this effort into feeling good, we also sabotage ourselves and we get stuck in the monkey mind and we get stuck in the distractions, we get stuck in the technology. And now it's like this huge influx of these spiritual vibration energies, and it's washing all that stuff to the side. And it's like, well, that can still be there, right? We're not talking about suppressing your emotions. You can still, this Neptune activation is also going to bring forward emotions that need to be released, but they can be there too, while you allow this spiritual energy. And maybe the Venus, Uranus sextile the North Node, trine the South Node, Venus sextile Neptune is like washing away this programming and all these old stories. And just like, it's like all of a sudden, it's like there isn't so much effort involved in higher frequency vibrations and feeling good. And it kind of washes all that stuff to the side. It doesn't go away. You're not suppressing. It's like that stuff's happening. There it is. Oh, I'm going to have a wave of grief and I'm going to feel that. And I'm going to experience, know that is true. But I also have this like wider, greater truth of what's actually happening right now. And this is where these souls are getting their marching orders, right? Finally, and reconnecting, maybe lifetimes. It's like I'm seeing this divine timeline energy, maybe golden. I was seeing a white light, kind of opalescent, beautiful, kind of like Christ consciousness, but it's like a string going through your past lives and undoing, these programs, on going through your DNA and undoing these programs, and understanding that we're having an opportunity here to take off like lifetimes of stuff that has been holding us back, of old stories and paradigms that are not true to who we are as souls. Because these souls that are drawn to this work, what I've been shown is that you came in very advanced by the time you got to Earth evolution, you had already gone through spiritual evolution, numerous times. You've already gone through spiritual ascension. Now we're doing it differently now, because typically you lose, you get a new body, and this time we're transforming our physical bodies. We're transforming the earth. The earth is transforming. We're all going together on this. And so it's a little different, but you still have the experience of spiritual ascension in your consciousness. And that's why you're here, to hold space for this, to know it's okay. And be like, because we've been told since Atlantean time that spiritual ascension is dangerous, wrong, bad, evil, maybe. It's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt the earth, and we have to have a catastrophe. And so much, even the highest teachers, throwing out these energies of that we have to have all these earth changes. And it's like, when you really stop and talk to the earth, we're going together through the earth. We're going through this together with the earth. We're not losing our earth. We're transforming together. And it's like, it's so much garbage and programming out there, and now you're giving an opportunity to feel and know the truth. And so that holding space is like letting all the stuff be on the periphery of like the outward happenings of this world, and holding, putting your attention on this bigger energies coming in, knowing that the tide is turning, knowing that it's time for us to finally move forward, and enjoying these energies and letting your vibration be higher, and know that that is your work right now. And it's like, all we have to do is just leave a little space in our life right now for these energies to come in, and let all the stuff that's happening be right there. But just let this waterfall, this tide turn, that like the energies, it's like, we've talked about how this is like a slingshot, it's like this boomerang energy. It's like slingshot. It's been pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. And nothing can stop it now. And it's got all that momentum, right? Like, we finally can receive the support that's available to us from of more, higher beings that are trying to support our evolution. We can finally receive that. The energies are right, even though it seems so wrong, right? And it's kind of a metaphor, because these souls, a lot of times growing up and who you were in this life, and it was kind of like there was so much wrong about you, and all that you were told was wrong about you. Like, oh, you're oversensitive. Oh, you're, whatever, you're too nice, or whatever. And it's like, that is all what's right about you. And so it's like, is what's wrong about the world actually what's right about the world? Now, this is really interesting, because when we're moving in higher dimensional frequencies, supposedly when you go from 3D to 5D, you don't stay in 4D. And we've been kind of quarantined in 4D. Like, if we try to get out of 3D, we're stuck in 4D. Now, 4D is like a mirror where everything, it's like the Bogart in Harry Potter, where everything, your worst fears manifest for you. Can you relate to that? Right. And it's kind of like a cleansing, a purifying before you go to 5D, but you're not supposed to stay in 4D. And it's like, we've had this technological grid and the programming and all these, I can't tell you, like, so much. I mean, in real earth energy, billions of dollars have gone into stopping our evolution, and so much energy and armies of people doing this technological control and stuff. And it's like, oh my God. But that's all to keep us in quarantine from getting to those higher frequency vibrations, because the control energies can't stay on the planet if we go there, right? And this is the thing, we've been told that these higher energies are dangerous. They're going to hurt our body. They're going to hurt the people around us. They're going to destroy the earth. And they're not dangerous. They're beautiful. And it's this beautiful influx of true consciousness. And they are dangerous to one thing, and that's the lower matrix, right? So it's like so much control, especially on the advanced souls on the cutting edge. You guys on the cutting edge of spiritual ascension, you've been targeted over many lifetimes, to keep you down and keep you distracted, keep you separated from who you really are. And it's like now these timelines merging and that tide turning in the cosmic consciousness and where we're going in our galaxy, moving through new areas of the galaxy. And it's like this influx of spiritual energies. And it's like, whoa, it's like a lightning bolt coming in. That's Uranus, of like, whoa, like all of these plays I've been playing, even for lifetimes, are not who I am, right? Like I'm down in the soup. And the people around you very deliberately have been keeping you there, right? Because, okay, so part of this is the control energies targeting these advanced souls that are on the cutting edge of spiritual evolution, because you remember, some part of you remembers that it's okay and how to do it and to lead the people into it. Now, we also have we've gotten entrenched into lower control energies and have been surrounded by lifetimes with karmic relationships that are deliberately, the karma is based on deliberately distracting us from our soul purpose, to the point where we can't even validate we have one and are who we really are, And so what happens when that slams back into our body, And so that I've been seeing that happen individually here and there with souls. And it's like now we're having an opportunity for a mass awakening of these soul groups, and the rest of, humanity, wherever they're at, they need to be wherever they're at, right? But you need to be where you need to be. And that's like giving yourself permission to move into these energies. And so this lower matrix energy and everything you've had to go through and being surrounded by lower evolutionary energies that wanted to keep you distracted. So, part of this is like you have part of this Uranus and Taurus, that you have this incredible gift that's getting more and more, this powerful commodity, which is like a true whole soul. I mean, we got to put ourselves back together from these traumas, right? And that's what we've been doing over these last few years. But this beautiful commodity, the people around you, if they honored and supported that in its true light, then they would lose you, right? So they've got to keep you down in order to keep feeding on you. And then there's all these contracts that say that like your light, because of what you've gone through in these ancestral programs, it's like you are the property of your ancestry and you need to do their bidding. This is exactly the Cancer Capricorn axis. It's like, oh yeah, what you have, we need. And that's actually completely opposite, because you have what they need, and it's all just an elaborate plan to keep you down so they can continue to feed on your light. And that's where this kind of interesting energy comes in, because it's time for us to own this light for ourselves, but it's not just for us. But at first it feels like that. It feels very selfish. And maybe it does feel selfish right now to allow yourself to be in these ecstatic spiritual energies while everybody else is freaking out. But that's what's required. But you're not doing it just for you. You're here out of service. And your heart is opening to like vibrate out this love and this hope and this knowing to the people around you. And so in holding space, I'm saying, keep your eye on the prize of what we're really doing here and put your energy and your vibration into the spiritual ascension that's happening, and allow yourself, if you can't have these energies, how are you going to open your heart to give them out to people, which is why you're here, And that's these distortions of the Piscean age, because it's like the self-sacrifice. We're here to sacrifice. We're here to be the martyr, and those are distortions around the Christ stories, around Christ consciousness, the mythology of the Christ, which is kind of, we need to wake up out of that bad dream and recognize that spiritual service can only come when we're willing to receive ourselves, and it's time and it's coming in. And can you just receive, the North Node in Cancer, receive, receive, receive. And so we've got Uranus sextile the North Node, Mercury trine the North Node, sextile Uranus. And so it's just that beautiful star pattern and trine, grand trine energies. And tomorrow, or the next day, I think Neptune moves to 19 degrees. And that's like a really big deal because it's been at 18 degrees for so long. And it's like came out of its retrograde. Now it's like moving into new territory. It's like just a symbol of like us moving into new territory, getting further through the Pisces energy, Neptune at home in Pisces. And so it feels really huge. And it's going from 18, which is 1 and 8 makes 9. And that's the end, to 19, 9 and 1 is 1, a new beginning. And isn't that beautiful happening right here at this Aries new moon, where the sun and the moon coming together with Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith, like, let's do it. Let's excavate out the darkness within us, and that's what's going on. It's like we've been trying to chip away at these patterns and this darkness. It's been so much effort involved. And this light coming in is just like, oh, whoa, like it's just like, and it may be seeing this energy of like what's happening in our world isn't just a bloom of darkness because of darkness and because we're going to our police state and because we're getting more controlled and we're going into the Armageddon and all that. This is the light coming in, moving the darkness out. And that's where we're being asked to put our attention and know that tides turn. And this tide is turning too. And the evidence in the outside world is very contrary. But if you sit and be present with this influx of spiritual energies for this Aries new moon, you can get a sense of what's really happening and be there and allow yourself to be there and receive this activation of Uranus and Taurus, Venus home in Taurus, in relationship to Neptune in the North Node. And it's time to move forward in our spiritual purpose and feel worthy of our spiritual purpose and let these energies validate who you are in your spiritual being. And I've seen a lot of souls kind of that have been so burdened with heavy energy, like feeling so quarantined and so trapped and for so long, and especially these last period of time, these last years. And it's kind of like, oh my God, it's finally shifting. And it's like just being okay with the chaos, because the energy is just, it's like, we can't stay in that lower vibration anymore because we'll get sick, which is interesting, huh? Because this is all about trying not to get sick and 6 feet of separation and washing your hands, and it's like our electromagnetic field and our immune system, our vibrational energy is so much more powerful than hand washing and being separate from people. And, it's all that boomerang release of the programming. I'm just seeing like mind control energies we've all been susceptible, like had inundated with, and DNA programming, and it's all unraveling. And that's what's really happening in the collective consciousness right now. And again and again, the message, this is going to shift. It's shifting. It's not as bad as it seems. It's a movie playing out. And, we want to be here. We want to be real and, face the reality on one level, but recognize that the spiritual reality that's happening is way more real than the stories we've been told, are being told right now. And that this isolation is really about bringing us back together. And quarantine is actually about getting us out of spiritual quarantine. And it's kind of like when I see these souls make this shift from this really heavy prison-like experience they've been having to this energy, it's like, who cares what happens? Like this ecstatic energy is just like, it's not that it's who cares. It's not like being not sensitive to what's happening on the planet, but understanding that we as spiritual beings have gone through so much, and this is one little blip of that experience. And it's all about coming back to God, and coming back to oneness consciousness, and just letting this spiritual revelation come in and holding that in our vibration as the best and most powerful thing we can do for the collective and for our community right now. So happy new moon in Aries. The tides turn, and that's what's really happening. And so I maybe you want to consider joining the Aries new moon activation. That is this afternoon in let's see, 6 hours from now. That's at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you can't make the live, you can get on the replay. It's $10. It's a guided meditation. Just kind of tap into these energies and use our collective consciousness for holding space for what we know is happening and for what we've been trying to work on and create for many lifetimes. And so maybe you'll consider joining that, or I'll see you tomorrow on the next update. Until then, happy new moon. I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.